Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2017 School District of Colfax Veterans Day Program. Thank you for braving the weather. I see it was single digits this morning and a little frosty out there, but I'm always impressed with the crowd we have here today. My name's Bill Yingst. I'm the superintendent here at Colfax. To start off, I just want to a little historical significance to a year ago. We had a very successful referendum vote a year ago Tuesday and passed that with 70% pass rate. So if you notice, the lobby looks a little different out here, the high school office. So if you didn't take a look at it coming in, take a look at it when you leave today. But again, I want to thank the community. Your support is appreciated by the students, the staff, the parents, and everyone here at the school. Colfax is a patriotic community. It's always evident, and I always appreciate our village. If you notice, there's U.S. flags lining the streets from one end of the town to the other. You don't notice that in a lot of towns or villages, but Colfax is always very patriotic, and that is appreciated. Also today, just a special welcome to Captain Nate Justin and the UW Stout ROTC being here today. So thanks for being here and taking the time to be a part of our program. We have a wonderful program today. Our students and staff have worked very hard in preparation for this recognition. So please enjoy our program. Thank you.
Mr. Yingst, thank you for a most appropriate Colfax welcome. Formal military assemblies conducted indoors begin with the presentation of the colors, referred to as posting of the colors, and end with the retirement of the colors. We are fortunate to have the University of Wisconsin Stout, ROTC, here to join us in Colfax for the posting of the colors. ROTC is the Reserve Officers Training Corps, which is a college-based program for training commissioned officers of the United States Armed Forces. At this time, I would ask everyone to please rise if you are able. For the posting of the colors by the University of Wisconsin Stout, ROTC.
Please be seated. Thank you. I would like to tell you a little bit about the Star-Spangled Banner. Francis Scott Key wrote the words to the Star-Spangled Banner on September 14, 1814, during the bombardment of Fort McHenry in the War of 1812. America was at war with Great Britain. Francis Scott Key watched from a boat as the British attacked Fort McHenry. The bombardment lasted throughout the night. When dawn finally arrived, boldly flying over the battered fort was the American flag, a huge symbol that the British bombardment failed to destroy the fort or the spirit of the American soldiers. Francis Scott Key was so happy. He wrote a poem about how he felt. The poem later became our national anthem, known as the Star-Spangled Banner.
At this time, please stand if you are able. I see my... Face the flag, showing the utmost respect for our American flag. Place your right hand over your heart and join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning, teachers, students, and citizens of Colfax. I would also like to recognize our veterans who are here today and those that could not be with us. Welcome to the Colfax School District Veterans Day Program. You will notice several 5th grade students involved in our program today. The 5th grade have been learning American history and what a veteran is to us. This is part of our American history curriculum and has been a great way to learn more about our veterans and what they have done and the sacrifices they have made for our freedom. You will notice outside of the gym several essays on veterans and what a veteran means to us. I invite you to take a moment after our program to read our essays. I'm certain you'll enjoy them. In addition, we thought it would be neat to share a couple of our veteran essays with you this morning. They are short, but convey in gratitude and appreciation we have for our veterans and the sacrifice they have made for our country. At this time, I would invite Maddox Breezy up to share his veterans essay with us. Maddox?
What a veteran means to me. To me, a veteran is a person who protects people that are in danger or people that are hurt. Veterans save our country and people that can't take care of themselves. Veterans are people that are in the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps. The veterans from all over the world are heroes. They might not think they are, but we all know they're heroes and saviors. I want to thank a veteran for protecting us, our lives, and other children in different countries. I'm thankful for veterans that help us when we need it.
Now please turn your attention to the 7th and 8th grade bands while they perform Special Forces March. Please enjoy. like to invite Mrs. Christensen and Mr. Westholm up to lead our kindergarten through 5th grade and 6th through 8th grade choirs in the song titled My America. Please enjoy. Wow, that was terrific. America is beautiful.
We will now hear our kindergarten through 5th grade students sing Thank You, Soldiers.
To the soldiers who have traveled on to countries far and so dear, that we may wake each morning bright and know that freedom reigns. Because of your great sacrifice, your country joins to sing.
Thank you, oh thank you, men and women brave and strong. To those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song. Thank you, oh thank you, men and women brave and strong. To those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song. Thank You Soldiers is a beautiful song to show appreciation for our veterans and the time they spent away from family and friends protecting our country. We will now hear from Olivia Johnson on what a veteran means to her. Olivia?
What a veteran means to me. To me, a veteran is someone who has a lot of passion for our country. Without veterans, what would America be like? We wouldn't be the land of the free without our veterans. Some veterans sacrifice their lives to protect our country. They are brave for what they do or did. They leave their homes, families, and sometimes their children. I feel that veterans are heroes for the sacrifices they've made for me and our country. So whenever you see someone who has served or is still serving in the military, say thank you for your service. I want to thank a veteran for protecting our country and keeping me and America safe.
Now turn your attention to the high school girls choir as they sing Travelin' Soldier.
Days past 18, he was waiting for the bus in his army green. Sat down in a booth in a cafe there, gave his order to a girl with a bow in her hair. He's a little shy, so she gave him a smile and he said, would you mind sitting down for a while and talking to me? I'm feeling a little low. She said, I'm off in an hour and I know where we can go. So they went down and they sat on the pier. He said, I bet you got a boyfriend, but I don't care. I got no one to send a letter to. Would you mind if I sent one back here to you? I cried, never gonna hold the hand of another guy. Too young for him, they told her, waiting for the love of a traveling soldier. Our love will never end, waiting for a soldier to come back again. Never gonna be alone when the letter said, a soldier's coming home. So the letters came from an army camp in California, then Vietnam, and he told her of his heart might be love and all the things he was so scared of. He said, when it's getting kinda rough over here, I think of that day sitting down at the pier, and I close my eyes and see your pretty smile. Don't worry, but I won't be able to write for a while. I cried, never gonna hold the hand of another guy.
Too young for him, they told her, wait for the love of a traveling soldier.
Our love will never end, waiting for a soldier to come back again. Never gonna be alone when the letter said,
A soldier's coming home.
One Friday night at a football game, the Lord's Prayer said and the anthem sang. A man said, folks, would you bow your heads for a list of local Vietnam dead? Crying all alone under the stands was a piccolo player in the marching band, and one name read, but nobody really cared. But a pretty little girl with a bow in her hair.
I cried, never gonna hold the hand of another guy.
Too young for him, they told her, waiting for the love of a traveling soldier.
Our love will never end, waiting for the soldier to come back again. Never gonna be alone when the letter said,
A soldier's coming.
I cried, never gonna hold the hand of another guy.
Too young for him, they told her, waiting for the love of a traveling soldier.
Our love will never end, waiting for the soldier to come back again. Never gonna be alone when the letter said,
A soldier's coming home.
That was beautiful. The high school's choir leads the elementary school in the national anthem Friday mornings. If you are ever in town on Friday mornings, I would encourage you to stop in and listen to them. They do an outstanding job. At this time, kindergarten through 5th grade and 6th through 8th grade choir students will sing a song entitled American Tears. Please enjoy.
Sometimes I think about America, about her struggles through the years. I think of people who did what they had to do with the strength to act through their fears. Sometimes I think about America, future and her past. I know I'm blessed to be living in liberty in a land where freedom will last. For the heroes, for the patriots, for the soldiers, for all the pioneers, I will always be an American, and I'll always cry American tears. Sometimes I think about America, about her people's legacy. I wonder if they knew that what they had to do would be known throughout history. Sometimes I think about America, about her pain along the way. I know it had to be for our democracy, for the world we live in today. For the heroes, for the patriots, for the soldiers, for all the pioneers, I will always be an American, and always cry American tears. I'll always cry for the heroes, for the patriots, the soldiers, all the pioneers. I will always be an American, and always cry, always cry. I'll always be an American. And I'll always cry. I will cry American tears.
K through 5th grade students and 6th through 8th grade choirs may be seated. That was fantastic. At this time, I would invite Zach Hedela up to share his veterans essay with us. Zach?
What a veteran means to me. To me, a veteran is fearless. They are someone that risks their lives so other people can wake up and know that they are safe. To me, a veteran is someone that cares for other people and not just themselves. They are someone that did the best they could. They are someone who doesn't care if someone throws something their way. They keep going. To me, a veteran is someone who went above and beyond. To me, a veteran is a hero. I want to thank a veteran because I want to thank a veteran for the freedom they gave us and the lives they have saved. I want to thank a veteran because everyone can wake up and know that they are safe. I just want to thank a veteran for the courage they had to go to war.
Thank you, Zach. You have heard a couple of essays on what a veteran means to us. Our veterans have given of their time, talents, and sacrifice for the love of our country. We are ever so grateful for their faithful protection and commitment to safety here and abroad. The United States Marine Corps motto, Semper Fidelis, is a Latin phrase that means always faithful or always loyal. Veterans Day is an opportunity to thank each veteran, regardless of the military branch, for their commitment, courage, and protection. At this time, I would like to invite one of our honored veteran guests, our district administrator, Mr. William Yingst Jr., up to introduce our guest speaker today. Mr. Yingst.
Aren't those kids great? Let's give those kids a round of applause. I'm always impressed, and our music department is second to none, so thank you for that. This morning, it's an honor and a privilege for me to introduce not only someone I served with and a friend of mine, but Captain Paul Mommsen is here with us today. Captain Mommsen is originally from Rice Lake, Wisconsin. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the field artillery, even though he switched over to be a combat engineer in later years. In May of 1998, via the Army ROTC program at Michigan Technological University. He completed airborne school while as an ROTC cadet, earning basic parachutist wings. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering, paid for partially by the ROTC. He entered into service in the Army Reserve and made a decision to do that because he was getting married, and made the decision to either be an active duty or a reservist, so he chose the reserve route. He was assigned as a combat engineer platoon leader at Alpha Company, 367th Engineer Battalion, Brainerd, Minnesota. Captain Mommsen attended Engineer Officer Basic Course in 1999 at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He trained in project management, vertical and horizontal construction operations, explosives, terrain analysis, obstacle emplacement, and breaching operations. He was assigned heavy equipment platoon leader, Alpha Company, 367th Engineer Battalion, where he conducted a variety of construction missions in Alaska, Oklahoma, and Grafenwehr, Germany. Next, he was assigned company executive officer, again at Alpha Company, 367th Engineer Battalion. He then mobilized in support of Operation Enduring and Iraqi Freedom to the 739th Multi-Role Bridge Company. That's January to June of 2003. And there he held 3 different positions in 4 months, serving as a support platoon leader, the 1st Bridge Platoon Leader, and Company Executive Officer. He demobilized within a week of loading equipment for deployment to Iraq, so they came very close to being sent to Iraq at that time, and then returned back to his home unit, Alpha Company 367th. And on a side note, he and his wife Susan then moved to Menominee, Wisconsin, between being mobilized with the 739th and the 367th, and did so for reason to be a little closer to family in the case he was mobilized. Next, Captain Mommsen mobilized in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and deployed to Afghanistan in February of 2004 through June of 2005. He was promoted to captain in April of 2004, just 2 days prior to us deploying. His unit was retasked as the landmine clearance asset in Afghanistan. He was assigned as platoon leader of the mechanical area landmine clearance. He and his soldier conducted mine clearance activities in and around Bagram, Afghanistan, and Kandahar airfields for the majority of our deployment. It also conducted emergency road repairs in the vicinity of the Sharana Forward Operating Base. While deployed, he attended Engineer Captain's career course in 2004 at Camp Arif Jan, Kuwait. Assigned Company Commander, Alpha Company 367th Engineer Battalion in September of 2005, where his company primarily supported maintenance and recovery operations and the transition from a combat engineer company to a mobility augmentation company. From there, Captain Mommsen was assigned plans officer in the S3 section at the 367th Engineer Battalion staff in October of 2006. Captain Mommsen is not only a former combat engineer officer, but I served with him while the 367th Engineer Battalion was in Afghanistan. Captain Mommsen has been awarded 5 Army Commendation Medals, the Afghanistan Campaign Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal twice, and the Basic Parachutist Badge, to name a few. Captain Mommsen served until 2008. So join me in giving Captain Mommsen a warm Colfax welcome.
Well, good morning, Colfax. Thank you for a phenomenal introduction and a phenomenal welcome. This is a great program. If throughout this presentation I say anything and I refer to Mr. Yingst as either Bill or Sergeant Major, know that it took me a long time to not call him Sergeant Major over the last several years, to where we could actually be on a first name basis, and now in front of all of you, Mr. Yingst. So, today is a great day for me to be here. Thanks for this warm welcome. As Sergeant Major Yingst, Bill said that we served together for a number of years and a year in Afghanistan. And I think it's not showing up real clearly. Can you go back the slide? Can we, thank you. Dim those lights. You see, this is one of the bridge boats that we had when I was in the Ribbon Bridge platoon, and just an example of one of the times that we proudly display the flag in and amongst our equipment that's out there in the Corps of Engineers. So today is not Veterans Day, tomorrow is, but today is a fantastic day for another celebration for the United States military. Next slide. Today is actually the birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Are there any Marines here in the room? A few? Can you stand up, please? I'd like to recognize the Marines in this room. Semper Fi and happy birthday to the Marines. Thank you. We wouldn't be doing today justice if we didn't recognize the Marine Corps on their special day. Next slide. Veterans Day originated because of Armistice Day is what it was originally called, celebrated in November 11th, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And in Armistice Day, this signified the end of World War I. So everybody throughout the world knew this as Armistice Day, and has evolved over the years, which I'll go into the next slide, and how we have come to know it as Veterans Day. So in 1938, there was a congressional resolution that said that we wanted to recognize Armistice Day and recognize this as a national holiday. And one of the key points is a day to be dedicated to this cause of world peace known as Armistice Day. To the cause of world peace. So I want you to think about that for a moment. After having fought the war to end all wars, here was this wonderful day that we talk about how we not honor veterans, but how we celebrate and honor world peace. A few years later, a specific veteran, a World War II veteran by the name of Raymond Weeks, started to generate some momentum to have Armistice Day recognize all veterans. And he started that out in a program in Alabama that was officially recognized in 1947. Afterwards, congressional resolution was made for Armistice Day to officially become known as Veterans Day, to formally recognize all veterans, and for a brief period of time that it was changed to the fourth Monday in October to be recognized under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act. In 1978, that was returned, so it was November 11th for the official recognition for Armistice Day. Now, a couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to travel for the company that I work for, and when I landed in that country, in England, I had the opportunity to come across what I thought was a Veterans Day celebration, but they refer to it as Remembrance Day. So in the United Kingdom, Remembrance Day is very similar to how we recognize Memorial Day. Poppies are set at graves or worn on the lapel. There are parades, and it's one of the things that we see that Veterans Day is not just a U.S. holiday, but there are so many other people who have sacrificed during World War I and still continue to recognize that today. So if you see there's a statue, a memorial, with a bunch of poppy wreaths with names on them to celebrate and to honor those who gave their lives. I've always spoken a little bit about the day. I want to talk a little bit more about the personnel and the oath that we take as soldiers, as airmen, as seamen, as Coast Guardsmen, and as Marines. And it's an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And there was a young man who came up here just a few minutes ago, and he was talking about serving a greater good, serving a bigger organization than oneself. That's what we do as veterans. We serve the Constitution. We support and defend the Constitution. Another thing that all veterans have sworn an oath to do is to obey the orders of the President of the United States. We have a civilian elected leadership in this country. And part of our obligation is to make sure that we support that civilian chain of command. It is not political. We support the president, whomever that president happens to be. With each one of the military services, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, we each have different terms that are specific to each one of us. But we all come together as one combined forces team to complete a mission. As we look at each one of the armed services, we have core sets of values: honor and integrity and respect. I witnessed so many of you come up here, and you were very respectful to listen to the guest speakers that were up here. I watched how all of you played so well and sung so well for us and came up here and respectfully listened to everything that was going on. Please continue to do so. Thank you. I have a couple of slides here of some pictures that I had taken in Afghanistan that I'd like to share with you, a couple of activities that we'd had, and just share some things about veterans. One is, I'd like to say, next slide please. Veterans can fall asleep just about anywhere. If you notice, I have a soldier who's asleep on a D7 bulldozer, and a couple more that found a spot that they can fall asleep kind of uncomfortably just about any place at any time and for very, very short periods of time. Another thing that we're very good at doing is we plan for contingencies. Now, I know all of you train for fire drills and you train for tornado drills, and we hope that those things never happen. But that's what we as veterans also do, is we train for contingencies. We train, and the time that's called, we go out there and we serve. The couple of contingencies that I want to highlight here are a couple of maintenance operations that we had to do that, had they not been done efficiently, we could have come under direct enemy fire. The one on the left is where a vehicle had been disabled. And the one on the right, if you can see, there's a bulldozer that is not exactly right side up. Something that you don't notice in that picture is that bulldozer is also in a minefield. Can you imagine not only just trying to flip that bulldozer over, but recover the person who's inside in the minefield, flip that bulldozer over, and recover everything safely? This happened just 1 week after I had arrived in Afghanistan. This opportunity and what we had trained for and what we had practiced for and what you all practice for in your contingency plans are some of the things that are executed well because you have practiced and practiced and practiced. And it's not unlike the things that you do for your coursework, right? You practice and practice and you do homework. and you don't just wait till the last minute when you need to perform that one time. Next slide, please. Veterans honor other people and their contributions. So as we look here, there are two pictures that I have of different awards that are being handed out. The picture on the right is of the Sergeant Major of the Army as he came to visit us while we were out there, and that was Sergeant Major of the Army Preston. But the picture on the left, I hope you can see rightmost in that photo, it's not showing up real well, is Command Sergeant Major Bill Yingst. So this is while he was handing out awards in Afghanistan, and it took a while for me to dig up some of those pictures this past week. Another thing that we know that veterans do, in the next slide, is we come up with some different ways to solve problems, and we have some other transportation things that we make work, and some of that is more of a morale thing. Here we have a couple of soldiers that found a couple of camels that they decided to ride. Just kind of fun pictures to share. Next slide, please. Veterans are environmentalists. You may see this forest that we're trying to grow right there, and there are a couple small trees. Seeing those saplings that are only a foot or so tall. But part of the reforestation in Afghanistan and part of getting vegetation to grow was supporting some of these activities as well. Next slide. Veterans honor and respect the fallen. Today is not Memorial Day. Tomorrow is not Memorial Day. And we usually reserve Memorial Day and not Veterans Day to talk about our fallen comrades. This picture is of Specialist Cahill, who is with the 173rd Airborne. Specialist Cahill playing Amazing Grace on the bagpipes. And if you have ever heard Amazing Grace played on the bagpipes, it is a phenomenally chilling and awe-inspiring sound. Specialist Cahill is playing Amazing Grace because 2 days before this, a helicopter had gone down in Afghanistan in the vicinity of where we were. 3 of his friends, 15 total people were killed on that helicopter. This event is very special to me because at this point in time in my deployment, we were coming to the end of our deployment, hearing Specialist Cahill play Amazing Grace, and yet I was due to be on that helicopter. I wouldn't be standing before you today had I made that decision to come back on that helicopter. Next. We respect and we honor the flag. The flag is final honors for a veteran. We wave it proudly. We post it up honorably in a prominent location. And if you noticed when the color guard came here and they posted the colors, there was the extra specific attention to detail to make sure that that eagle on top was squared up with the room. Did you notice that? That was a specific activity to honor that flag. I spoke just briefly before about Armistice Day was about world peace and about trying to make the world a better place. Last slide. It's a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace. Tomorrow, when Veterans Day, November 11th, is upon us, take on this mission for all of you. Take just a moment of time to do something in your corner of the world to make things just a little bit nicer. Open the door for somebody, say please and thank you. Volunteer to help somewhere in the community. Don't honk your horn if somebody upsets you. Just take that moment to make the world just a little bit better place. And we will be able to achieve dedicating tomorrow for the cause of world peace. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the time to be here today.
Well, sometimes after being in Afghanistan years ago, it seems like it was an eternity ago, and sometimes it feels like it was yesterday. But I want to thank Captain Mommsen for being here today, taking the time out of his schedule, and he's an engineer at 3M. I really appreciate you being here, as does the school district and community at Colfax. Great words spoken, and this is truly a great soldier and great leader. Let's give Captain Mommsen one more round of applause. You know, I've kind of lost track of what year we started this program, but my best recollection is it's got to be somewhere around 20 years ago at this point. And I was the first speaker at that program, and I should remember that, but I don't. I think I need Leanne Ralph's help to look at the messenger and find out what year we started this program. But next, I'd like to make our special recognition today, and kind of made it an annual tradition. On this special day, we recognize our veterans who faithfully served our country. We also need to recognize another group of important individuals, and those people are our spouses and family members of the veterans. In my opinion, the spouses of our veterans have earned the same status that we have earned. When we are sent to war or away for military service, it is the spouse who keeps the family together. It is the spouse who takes care of all of the day-to-day duties at home, and in many cases while holding down a full-time job. At this time, I would like our 5th grade students, my helpers, to come forward. And today we'll be presenting a rose to our spouses of veterans and mothers of veterans and service members in attendance here today, and our American Legion Auxiliary ladies. So please raise your hand if you're a spouse or a mother of a veteran or a member of the American Legion Auxiliary, and our 5th graders will bring a rose to you at this time. 5th graders? And please raise your hands up so that they can see you, and we'll get there as expeditiously as we can. Hey, you're doing a good job there too, buddy. This section down here has 3 or 4 down here. I know those arms are getting tired, so if you'd raise your hand up a little higher, we'll try to get to you as quickly as we can. That's kind of the far section. Got on the floor and the bleachers. I think we've all got them now. Okay, everybody, you can have a seat here. 5th grade, you can have a seat here. I think we got them all covered. All right, did we miss anyone? I think we caught everyone. If we somehow missed you, please stop by at the end. We'll be glad to give you a rose at that time. All right, let's give our 5th grade helpers another round of applause so we get organized. All right, the next group to recognize is the real reason we're here today, our veterans. Over the years, we've had many veterans in attendance at this program. We've had veterans from as far back as World War I attend this program back in the early days. Now we have none from that war. In Veterans Day, as Captain Mommsen mentioned, the Veterans Day originated after World War I and was formerly known as Armistice Day. And at this time, we'd like to recognize and remember the veterans of all of our wars. So please stand to be recognized if you are able. And I'm going to go through a list of wars dating back to World War II. So veterans of World War II in attendance, please stand to be recognized if you're able. And the two that stood here are Mr. Al Stye, who obviously was our elementary principal back in the day, and thanks for being here, and Mr. Vernoyd Hovland. And I have to say that Vernoyd is still active in the American Legion here in Colfax. He still attends the funeral services and duties that we serve. And he told me a story once in World War II when they were liberating Europe that he met face-to-face with some Russians when they snuck across a river in a boat. I think that's how the story went. And just want a special thanks to our World War II veterans. Obviously, we don't have a lot of them left, but Vern, if my math is correct, I think you're going to turn 93 in a few weeks. Is that correct? Let's give another round of applause for that. Next, I'd like to recognize our Korean War veterans. So the Korean War veterans, please stand. And the next group of veterans who I know were treated terribly when they were returned, and it's, I think, a national shame, and that's our Vietnam War veterans. And a personal thank you to the Vietnam War veterans. Let's give them a thunderous round of applause. Please stand. And thank you, Vietnam veterans. Veterans of Lebanon and Grenada. Do we have any here today? All right, Brad. Veterans of Operation Earnest Will, the Persian Gulf veterans and Gulf War veterans, please stand. Veterans of Somalia, Kosovo, and Bosnia, please stand. And our Iraqi war veterans, please stand. And our Afghanistan war veterans, please stand. Thank you, ma'am. And next, not all veterans are sent to wars, but there's a lot of veterans that serve and they're in between war times, and typically that's not a choice. And at this time, I would just like to have all of our veterans stand, whether you served in a war or not, but all of our veterans, please stand. And let's give them a round of applause at this time. And thank you all veterans for your service. And I finally would like to recognize my fellow American Legion and VFW comrades here today. A special thanks to our commander, Chris Larson. His wife Tammy's here today. Tom Dunbar, his wife Kathy. Tom served many years as commander as well. And some of our other Legion. I know we have Vernoid Hovland, like I mentioned. We have Mark Tuschel. Let's have our American Legion VFW members from the area stand to be recognized. John Suko, John snuck in the back there. John's one of our Legionnaires as well, and this is the Russell Toyson Post 131 here in Colfax. And do a lot of great things behind the scenes, and they're just the guys that always show up and fire the rifles at the funeral and give the military honors. Each year our ranks just become a little bit smaller and we lose some of our veterans, like I said before. And this is a special day for that reason, not only to remember our veterans and Memorial Day each year, but I always feel that a couple hours out of your entire year is time well spent to stop and take a moment or two to reflect and remember our veterans and the people that have served our country and given their life so that we may have a better life. One more special recognition I'd like to make, and I have one Colfax High School grad here, and that's Specialist Hunter Clementson. Hunter, stand up. Do we have any other Colfax grads here? Recent grads? And Hunter's a member of the Wisconsin Army National Guard as an infantryman. So with that being said, again, I want to thank you for being here today. And we made an annual tradition of this part as well. And what I'd like to do, and it's kind of for my own purpose to see, but how many people in here have a connection to someone, a family member that served in the military, even if you hadn't? I'd like all of you to stand at this time so everyone can see the connection of our military families over the years. Well, when you look around, you look left and right and around, it's most of this room. So again, be sure to thank your family members. Please have a seat. Thank your family members that served if you've never done that. And to finish up, I'd just like to invite our community members, visitors, out to our newly remodeled lobby to join us for some coffee and cookies afterwards. But thanks for your time and attendance, and we'll continue the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yingst. Now we will listen to the high school band perform Armed Forces Salute. Armed Forces Salute is a tribute to all of the armed forces of our country, which include the United States Army, the U.S. Coast Guard, the United States Marine Corps, the United States Air Force, and the United States Navy. Veterans, please stand during the song if you are able as I call out your branch. Please enjoy Armed Forces Salute. The United States Army. The U.S. Coast Guard. The United States Marine Corps. The United States Air Force.
the United States Navy. How well the Armed Forces Salute identifies who we are here to recognize today. At this time, I would invite our Guys High School Choir up to sing You Raise Me Up. Please enjoy.
That was wonderful. At this time, taps will be played by Andrea Ottinger, Tanner Nierenhausen, and Tate Russell. Please stand if you are able. Face the flag and remain silent for the playing of the taps. You may be seated. How fitting. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Hovde to the podium to share a few remarks. Mr. Hovde?
Thank you, David. First of all, I would like to thank our fifth graders for their words of respect, admiration, and honor to our veterans. It has been enjoyable to see our fifth graders read and share their essays on what a veteran means to them. Keep up the good work. I would also like to thank Mrs. Christensen, along with the middle school and high school choir, Mr. Westholm and Mr. Woodford, along with the middle school and high school bands, and our elementary students for singing and playing those wonderful patriotic songs that were shared today. Great job. I would also like to thank Mrs. Blomberg, Miss Latulip, Mrs. Halpin, and Mrs. Yingst, along with their students for creating the wonderful thank you cards and veteran essays for our veterans. I know they will enjoy them. I would also like to thank Chris Olson for our sound, Jeff Gust for live streaming, and Mr. Dockel, Mr. Moss, and Mr. Sikora, along with the rest of the custodial staff and music students and department for their setup work today. We truly appreciate it. In addition, I would like to thank the University of Wisconsin Stout, ROTC, for posting the colors, and our district administrator, Mr. William Yinks Jr., for his kind words and honor to our veterans and military families. We appreciate all that you do. I would also like to thank Captain Paul Mommsen, U.S. Army Reserve, combat engineer, for being our guest speaker and presenting his thoughts and the importance of Veterans Day. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule for us. On a side note, this morning when I got up, I had a couple of boys that needed me to tie their ties. And so I didn't take as much time this morning for myself in tying my own tie And after I got my tie tied, I looked in the mirror and I noticed that the star represents itself in the center of my tie. It was not planned, but it happened. I knew it was going to be a good day. And to our veterans that we are here to honor today, those present and those afar. For me, it is inspiring to see the community come together to celebrate the bravery and commitment of our veterans. Please join me in one more round of applause for our veterans. I hope your year is filled with hope, appreciation, and respect for the sacrifices you have endured, which is why our elementary students, with the help and support and guidance of Mrs. Newberg and her high school students, have provided apple pies to show respect and offer thanks for all you have done to keep us safe and serve our country. Thank you for your sacrifice and commitment to freedom. We have been honored and privileged to be able to host the Veterans Day program. You will find the frozen apple pies with baking instructions on the table. And at the conclusion of the program, please join us out in the lobby for coffee and cookies. And lastly, I hope over the next several weeks, our veterans and their families receive the sincere thanks and appreciation for all you have done. You raise all of us up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hovde. We will now listen to the high school band play God Bless the USA. Thank you again for attending a Veterans Day program. It has been an honor and a privilege to host and present the Veterans Day program. I will now invite everyone to stand, if you are able, for the retirement of the colors.
That concludes our program. Thank you for coming.